Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Woolly Thistle. It's our year-end wrap-up and I'll be joined by our Shopcast contributors who will be sharing their thoughts on 2023 as well as 2024 and their knitting and so on. So we left it quite loosey-goosey, so what they're talking about is up to them and I hope that you enjoy it. I'm here to introduce the segment and just to say a huge thank you for a wonderful 2023. You guys have really been wonderful again in that you are here for us, you are shopping with us, you're telling your friends about the Woolly Thistle, you're part of our community and engaging with us, and you're giving us ideas for how we continue to evolve as a business, but also as a hub for your community. And so it's been a great year of learning for sure. Definitely a year filled with some really big challenges, but we have overcome and we continue to grow. So that's what we want. We don't want to just be cruising along and this is so easy. We want to be testing ourselves and pushing ourselves, just like you do with your knitting. If you've never steeked before, then steeking is like the pinnacle of a mountain and it takes courage to get there. But so many of you do, and I hope that maybe if you haven't, that you're maybe planning a steeked project for 2024. Let us know in the comments. Color work could be another mountain to climb for you, and learning how to get that tension just right, or how to catch floats in a quick way, or how to cut that steek, in all that color work. So yeah, I mean, these are very really advanced things, but at the same time, if you don't know it's difficult, you don't know it's difficult and you just get on with it. I remember the first time I knit a pair of socks and I turned the heel and I thought it was absolutely magic. I couldn't believe it. And I did it. I could do it. I mean, they weren't the best pair of socks I've ever knitted, but they were a pair of wearable socks with a turned heel. And I was absolutely enchanted by what felt like magic in those technical instructions. So I hope that you get some of that excitement yourself and some of that sort of feeling of achievement, because to knit at the level that people knit at today, it is an achievement. We make beautiful and wonderful things, and it's no great, it's no small feat. Anyway, so 2023 has been a great year at the Woolly Thistle, and we continue to grow. It's had challenges too, which any business is going to have, and so as a business owner, I'm learning to weather and stay in my seat on this roller coaster, and also learning how to smooth some of this out so that we don't go crazy. But yes, it is what it is. Life has been a very interesting ride these last few years, what with COVID, different things going on in the world, and so we all have to learn how to even it out for ourselves. And I think knitting plays a huge part of that for those of us who have fallen down this rabbit hole and are more than just a hobbyist. Although if that's where you're at, that's totally fine. I consider myself a daily knitter, and my life revolves around knitting and yarn, and I hope that will always be the case. So I hope that's the same for you too. And with that comes community, and I am a great believer of pointing out that we don't all have to have the same thoughts and beliefs to have this common thread of knitting and yarn love, and love of exploration of how this yarn get made, or the different ways it can be made, or the different breeds of yarn or wool that go into the yarn, or why is this so crunchy and woolly, and why is superwash not something we really dig here? All of that. These are all questions and things that we can rally around and find common interest and solidarity in, while also respecting each other's points of view about some of the bigger questions of life that certainly seem to come flying at us very quickly these days, for sure. So I hope that you find fun and knowledge in our communities, and that you are always learning by being part of the Woolly Thistle community. So 2023, yes, it's been a great year. It's been a challenging year. I'm kind of ready for it to be moving into the background. I do believe the word that maybe characterizes my experience in 2023 is resilience, which is no small trait to be familiar with. I've had to learn some really difficult lessons this year, but I have learned them, and I have improved because of them. I got up and I learned and I made better. And so I hope that, I think learning resilience is a very painful experience, and 2023 has been full of those experiences. But I also feel, and I think Maggie would agree, that the Woolly Thistle is at a much better place at the end of this year than it was at the beginning of this year. So that feels really strong and setting us up for a great 2024. I'm not sure what my word is for 2024. I tend to think about, the year that's gone and the year that I hope to come. But I think it might be to dream, and to dream a little, because I think life conditions us to sort of stay in our lane and just get the thing done, and your dreams kind of get pushed off to the side. And I never even dreamed what the Woolly Thistle would become. That was never a dream I dared to dream. It's something that you made happen. And it was just a wonderful opportunity at the right time, where you guys were interested and made it happen. And I have enough savvy to figure out how to run with that. But what I want to do is dream, I think. I want to start to dream about, well, what could the Woolly Thistle actually, how can we grow this business? How can we have partnerships that are really meaningful to you? So I hope that this episode of the Woolly Thistle helps tie up 2023 for you with a nice bow with your knitting, and that you maybe get some inspiration or thoughts about 2024 and what you want to see your knitting do in the months to come. Thank you so much for supporting the Woolly Thistle throughout 2023. I hope to see you in 2024 and be part of the community, and just continue loving this journey that we're on, that feels that we'll never know everything there is to know, but it does feel great to be learning. And I still have so much to learn myself, so I'm on this journey with you too. But let us guide you, and let us expose you to wonderful projects, designers, yarns, places, all of these good things. Hopefully this is all to come in 2024, and thank you for being here. Just truly thank you. All right, so without further ado, let's go to our first contributor, and I hope that you have a wonderful holiday, however you're going to spend it, whether you're celebrating or not, and have a wonderful New Year's Eve. I'll be doing my Hogmanay thing, which is not much these days, but still, it's a great holiday in Scotland. And just have a wonderful, restful time. The work is done, hopefully. Now you can put your feet up, pick up your knitting, and enjoy some downtime. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the new year. If you go out, take your knitting. Bye.
Hello, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody celebrating. I'm so happy to be here with you for a short little segment all on my own, which feels a little weird for me. I'm so used to recording with Corinne, but I'm really looking forward to sharing a few things that I managed to get done in time for Christmas. One of them is 90% of the way there. I just have a little bit more to do, but I'm going to show you that now. I didn't get all my gift knitting done. This is a sort of self-imposed. I know Emma Barnaby has talked about how she's not doing any gift knitting, which is great. I find it really sort of enriches my own experience of the holidays, so I like to do gift knitting, but my gift knitting is going to roll right into January because I still have some projects that I want to get finished that I didn't. So I'm going to keep working on those. I'll keep sharing those with you, but one thing that I think I already shared with you guys, but I'm going to show you again. I did finish socks for my sons using some Deep Stash Paton Kroy, and they came out really nice. So sorry the light isn't great in here, but I'm recording at home, and this was kind of the best I could do with the light sitting in front of a window. So hopefully you can see okay. These were Paton Kroy socks, just Deep Stash. He does have man-sized feet now, so I did a 72 stitch sock with a flap and gusset, and these are great. So he will get these on Christmas. I'm recording before Christmas, so he'll get these soon. I hadn't shared with you My daughter, I finished for the Woolly Thistle sweater cowl back that ended in August. I finished my daughter's building blocks cardigan. The pattern is by Sher. And I knit this in Mota, and I don't think I shared any like final pictures. I don't think I showed it final with buttons and everything. So she's home from college, so I grabbed it from her. I knit it in Mota. You can see it's wearing really well. I do think she's worn it, which is great. I don't think she's worn it a lot, but I think it is getting worn. It is very warm. And her being 21, she's not yet found a need for super warm. So, but I love how it came out. I did do a contrast row right before I bound off, and I'm really happy with it. I did not add pockets, but it fits her perfectly, and really cozy sweater and great pattern. So one thing in looking back at all my knitting, or a lot of my knitting this year, I think all of my sweaters were natural colors. I knit my hairnet, which I was wearing in the last episode, which I think was 212. And that was knit with Ramastrika garn early last year, or early in 23. The Mota cardigan. And then my vest that I knit for my sister was also a natural color. And as you're about to see, the sweater I knit for my sister for Christmas is also a natural color. So one of my goals for 2024 is color, more color. Not that naturals aren't great, but so for my sister this year, she loves all things creamy beige, gold. And when we were at Rhinebeck, I got to see Emma Barnaby's sparkly sweater in person, where she had held it with, I think she held hers with maybe mohair and a glitter. So I purchased online, because we don't have it at the shop, but I purchased online this yarn that has sequins on it, and you can see it's not like there's a sequin. I don't know if you can see that. It's maybe every like 2 inches there's a sequin, and occasionally you'll get like a little clump of 1 or 2 there. I found this, I think I got mine on Universal Yarn on their website, because they had it on clearance. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, but they had a bunch of different colorways. And I decided to hold it with the remainder of, I still had quite a bit of my cone of 202. This cone just keeps on giving. So this is Jamieson Smith 2-ply 202. And I held them together. And I used the Vanilla Fluff pattern, which is Corinne's pattern. And I'm so happy with it. So I'm recording about almost a week before Christmas. So all I have left is the neckband, which I will get done this evening. And then it needs a good soak to get like the cone grease out of there. And I'm so happy with it. It's been super fun to knit. It's nice and sparkly, but it doesn't feel like too much. And I think my sister will love it. So it fits me, so it should fit her. It's been a really fun knit. I cast this on, I think, around December 1st, so less than 30 days. And I'm not generally a very fast knitter, so this has gotten a lot of my Christmas knitting attention, which is why a couple of other things have not gotten done yet, and they will be January gifts, and that's totally fine. So really, really happy with this. I'll try and take a couple of photos before I gift it after it's washed, because I think that the fabric will fluff up really nicely with a good wash. But you can see all that sparkle. I enjoyed knitting this so much that I actually went and purchased another batch of I have cats trying to get another batch of sparkly yarn that I think I have a cone of 81, and I might make one for myself sometime next year, because it's just been a really fun knit, really fast, and I think it would be fun to wear this festive time of year. So that's that. Really excited to have that done, or almost done. And then thinking about a couple projects I didn't get done. I pulled out some handspun This will be one of my January projects. Virginia Sattler-Reimer has a pattern called the Figgy Cowl, and a while back I spun this yarn with the intention to knit something for my daughter when she first went away to school, and I never got to it. And I think that this would make a really pretty Figgy Cowl, and I only have one skein. It's not quite enough to do, I was originally thinking like a big cozy shawl, but it's not enough to do that, but I think it would be a perfect and beautiful Figgy Cowl. We can put a picture of the pattern up here. So that is coming in January. And then there's been some talk in our Facebook group about doing for 2024 knitting sock patterns, knitting socks all year long, aiming for one a month. I doubt I can keep up with one a month, but I'm feeling like it's a good year to try. So I think over the next week or so, I may pull together. I like the idea of sort of pre-wrapping them and then once a month unwrapping the monthly yarn on the first and casting on. I don't know why the wrapping of them, it just seems like a fun little surprise, even if I've set it up for myself. So I think I might do that. And then the other thing I really wanted to get done for next year are more, where did I put it? Right here. More Moosh and Friends knits. I finished Nana Duck and I didn't get to any other animals, even though I pulled out yarn. So next year, this. I think just a few more animals. I find them to be such lovely little palette cleansers and so satisfying. So there will definitely be more of this. I know in our group we have a Ravelry thread already in our group chatting about Moosh and Friends. So I'm hoping to hop in there myself with a little bit of chat and sharing next year. So if you're interested in knitting from Moosh and Friends, come join us there. Or if you just want to see, they're really fun patterns. That really is all I have to share with you for today. I still have plenty of whips on the way, just like all of you probably. And for anyone who's wondering, I don't think I mentioned, I'm wearing my Radari. It is knit with Let Lopey. It is nice and chilly out today. So it's knit with Let Lopey, and we do have kits in the shop, although I don't think we have kits for this colorway, but if you're interested in what colors I used, I do have them on my Ravelry page. All right, well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I also know that this season can be kind of difficult for many of us, so be gentle with yourself, lean into your knitting and cozy things, whatever makes you happy. And yeah, we'll see you in the new year.
Hi everyone. So welcome to our 2023 year-end wrap-up. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that on this, Shopcast, but I'm so happy to be with you today for like a little extra special year-end wrap-up. So there's a lot of things we could talk about at the end of the year, but it is my day job to talk to college students about setting goals. So I want to talk about goal setting for 2024 in our knitting and what it means and the different types of ways we might go about doing that. And yeah, like what my goals were for this year and like that kind of thing, and my goals for next year. I'm here to talk about goals. So one thing I frequently tell my students is like, you can't really get anywhere if you don't have goals. However, with crafting, it's supposed to be your hobby. So a lot of people don't like to knit with any kind of plans or goals. And actually I find that like when I'm trying to be creative and like do something with, a new pattern or some handspun or whatever, I tend to just like not make a too solid of a plan. I tend to just kind of like let the spirit carry me, the creative spirit kind of carry me through that and see what kind of I end up with. So there are a lot of times when I'm knitting or spinning or something where I don't have a goal. And it's productive not to have a goal, but I like to have some vague goals. So obviously some people have very lofty knitting goals, and sometimes I do too. Like sometimes at the beginning of the year, I'll be like, okay, here's all the things I'm gonna knit. And I knit like 3 of those things because I don't really come up with like the plan for how I'm gonna do it. And I often overestimate like how interested I'm gonna be in a big project. And I think that's my biggest problem is like when I want to do a big project, I tend to lose interest. So like one of the things I wanted to do last year was to knit this long road hoodie, which I have right here. This is the long road hoodie from Contrasts by Made UKP. It still doesn't have buttons on it. Please don't. Don't yell at me for that. I can't find the buttons. They're somewhere in here in my studio, which is still kind of a crazy mess, but I will find them eventually. So it's a big hooded jacket, and I had this yarn, which is from Brooklyn Tweed, in my stash for like 3 or 4 years, and I was like, Emma, you need to knit with that. And so this took me almost the whole year because I just kept putting it away because I was getting bored. So one thing I learned from the time that I did finish it, so by the time I decided to finish it, I had like one sleeve and half the body done. So I still had to do the other sleeve, the hood, and the rest of the body, which is like at least half the sweater, if not more. And I ended up finishing it in like 2 weeks after that because I was like, okay, I want this to be done. I'm like incredibly motivated because I want to wear it. And I do wear it even without buttons. I wear it all the time. And so what I did was I kept a log, and I told myself, you have to work on this every day. You don't have to work on it for a long time, but often by the time I like had done a row or two, I wanted to keep going. I was like motivated to keep going. So actually tracking my progress on something like that really helps. So I think in the future, like with whatever my like lofty goal is for 2024, I have a few, like in order to actually get through those projects, I need to track my progress on them and just like keep like a streak calendar. It's like one of those things where you don't want to break the streak. You know, it's like using Duolingo. You're like, I want to work on this every day. Like I want to like make a mark on the chart that says I did it every day. Like use a calendar, get a wall calendar, and like make a little tally mark. Did I do it? You don't want to break the streak. It's like this huge motivating factor. So if you really want to get something done, especially if you're like knitting for a deadline or somebody else, I would say like track your progress. It really helps. But so for myself, I find that I like some big projects, but I don't always want that. And I knit on multiple things every day, usually. So like sometimes it's nice to have one big kind of lift on the needles, but then also like some smaller things. And obviously some vague crafting goals are also good. Like crafting is for you. It's not, I mean, some of us do it professionally, but like not really. Like even for me, like obviously I'm here, I'm talking to you. I don't really like, I teach and stuff, but like, this is still my hobby. It's not like my, I don't knit to survive. I knit because, well, I do for my mental health, but you know what I mean? Like it's not, it's not something that like I want to be stressful because there's like stress in our lives all the time. So, I think a few big lifts for me and like then some vague stuff tends to be really helpful. So yeah, this was kind of a big project I did this year. And I really enjoyed doing that big cable project. This is another one this is actually a COVID project. This is the, what's this called? Oh, it's a Thea Coleman pattern. And now I can't remember what it's called, but I will send the Woolly Thistle folks the name of the pattern. They can put it in. Thank you, Erika, for putting the name of this in. Maybe it'll come to me in like the next couple of minutes. But anyway, this is knitted in Harrisville Watershed, which is I actually got this yarn from the Woolly Thistle. They don't carry it anymore, but no, Harrisville is a mill in New Hampshire. This is the color Aquifer. It's like medium blue with these like red and green tweedy flecks. I don't know if you can see that, but I like to style a sweater like this over a collared shirt, especially for like a professional setting. So yeah, this was one of my, like I was trying to just like get vaguely into cables, and it had these nice little, like, it has this on the back too, and it has a fake seam going up the back, like a knit column, a stockinette column. But something like this to kind of get myself back into cables is often helpful. So I think I'm going to try and do a couple of cable projects this year because I find myself really drawn to color work, and I would like to do some more cable knitting with some of my stash. But yeah, my first big lift is going to be knitting a Guernsey with some frangipani. This is in the colorway Navy. How original. Using books that I have. So I'm excited to kind of get that. That's going to be I'm going to start that in January, like January 1st. So that's going to be my big project. It's not for me. This is a gift for someone. So that's also helpful for me. It's kind of motivating. It's like, well, someone else is going to wear this, so I better finish it. And it's also a creative project because I get to design it. So that'll be really fun. So my other goals. So yeah, like real projects, I have a few things in mind. This one's very specific. but sometimes they're vague. And like, you know, I think sometimes I like to choose like a couple of sweater quantities where I'm like, I'm gonna knit these this year. For me, that right now I'm kind of like a little bit more into cardigans right now because that's sort of like a gap in my wardrobe, and I do like to knit, you know, things that I'm gonna wear. And I've knitted so many yoke sweaters and so many Fair Isle things that I'm like, okay, like let's make some things that I don't already have 5 of. So obviously I will not stop knitting Fair Isle, and I like to do one big Fair Isle garment project every year, at least one. So I have a kind of like vague idea in my head of what next year's is going to be, and it'll probably get off the ground in like March. It'll be like my second big lift of the year. But yeah, just to kind of, you know, keep track of my progress, to make sure I'm getting through these things kind of in a timely way, to motivate me to finish them. It'd be nice to like, you know, continually work through them and then like get another one on the needles. And so you're always kind of reaching for something. For me, that's helpful. And your reach goal might be really different. Like it might be learn how to spin, or learn how to knit color work, or anything. And it's one of those things where, yeah, if you're just trying to learn something, just get into it by like 15 minutes a day of practice. That's my best advice for you. So some of my other goals, one is to use more handspun. I would like to always have a handspun project on the needles. That is a bit of a, maybe a bit of a stretch. I don't think it's too much of a stretch because I have a lot of handspun to choose from. I'm sitting here like looking at all sorts of yarn, and there's some handspun on my desk. You know, whether it's socks or a colorwork project or like a sweater or something, to always just be working on something that's made out of handspun. Yeah, so another thing is that I have a lot of sock yarn and I love to design socks. One of the things I would also like to do is to publish more sock patterns, and I actually have to, I feel like for that you really need to have like a schedule, and like this is when I'm going to do the PDF, this is when I'm going to like, so I have a schedule for that. So like I'm planning to release more patterns in 2024, but also I feel like I did a lot of socks in 2022 and I designed a lot of socks, and I kind of fell off the sock bandwagon in 2023. So I'd like to kind of go back to it in 2024 because I have so much sock yarn. So I did something really fun. On my birthday, I had a little birthday party, and I had some friends over, and I brought down a giant sack of sock yarn, just full of sock yarn. And there were knitters there, like at least 2 of the people there were like also knitters. And so I was like, you guys are in charge, because like if there's yarn in here that's not sock yarn, you'll know. So I said, here's some wrapping paper and some tape and some scissors, and here's a bunch of sock yarn. Please, for me, wrap up 12 packages of sock yarn. It can be more than one color, like just go wild. There's no rules, just wrap them up and write the month on there. And when on the first day of that month, every single month, I have to unwrap the one that says like that month, and I have to knit a pair of socks. I have to design a pair of socks, or knit one of my own designs. That's the rule. So there's a variety of sizes of packages. This one's January. So this one, you know, traditional skein shaped. I'm pretty sure that's just a normal skein of yarn. But then we have like, this one's April. I don't know what that is. It must be like things that are wound into balls already, or like mini skeins. Like, so there's clearly more than one thing in there, and I have to use everything in the thing. It's like, this is like my creative challenge. And then like June, it looks like there's 2 skeins in there. So like, I'm just like so baffled by what's in these, and especially my knitter friends, and like I feel like they might have given me like a really weird challenges, because I heard them, like I didn't watch obviously, but I sat on the stairs of my house and they were like in the living room so I could hear them, and they were like laughing and being like, oh, that's weird, oh, she's gonna hate that, oh, she's gonna have so much fun with this one. Like I was like, oh no. So we start January 1st. I'm gonna be opening one of these, and if you want to follow my progress, you can watch Tiny Desk Knitting. It's my show on YouTube, and I will be talking about my experience and showing you the yarn, unwrapping it on video and showing it to you, and then talking about what I'm gonna do, and then showing the progress every week of my new socks. So that's one thing. So a few things, not too many things. I find that if I have too many goals, I tend to like fall off the bandwagon. So I just wanted a few goals. I wanted them to be sort of vague, but like also intentional. Like, you gotta have the socks on the needles. You gotta use your handspun. You gotta practice long draw, like different spinning things, you know, always kind of be working towards something. And then the bigger projects. So yeah, more cables. I think I really enjoyed the cabled cardigan. So yeah, you know, I'll be popping in every month to tell you how it's going. But I would love to know about your knitting goals. So if you want to comment down below and tell us about your knitting goals, or like what the thing you're most proud of this year is, or something of knitting, and you know what you want to learn. I don't know. They could be anything, but you know, whether it's I really want to knit this thing and it's kind of a reach, but I really want to do it, or if it's just like I just want to enjoy my crafting every day, because that's also a very reasonable goal, I think. So let us know. We're so happy you're here. Thanks so much for joining us for our year-end special, and we'll see you next time.
My name is Erika. I actually am behind the scenes editing this Shopcast most of the time, and I get the privilege of jumping in and sharing a little bit about what I have done and what I plan to do, because I am probably the newest knitter of everyone on the Shopcast, but it's so much fun to see everything, and just to kind of jump in and start to understand the stuff even better by really working with it. So for 2023, I actually did set a goal. My goal was to knit 6 pairs of socks, and I'm not going to make it. But to be honest, one of the things that I did not plan to do, but I did end up doing, was to knit a sweater. My whole goal had been just socks, to replenish my failing quantity of wool socks. I thought I'd just make my own. It sounded fun. But then the sweater cowl came along, and Caitlin talked about budget-friendly starter sweaters, and so I jumped right in. So I actually have a what am I wearing? This is my Felix pullover. So I did the Felix Inlet Lopi, whatever the purple colorway is called. So I did that for the sweater cowl. I did not finish it in time, but I finished it a whole lot earlier than I thought. Just given where other projects had started, I thought I would probably finish it in February, but here it is. And I actually got the lace work to work. I do have a mistake, so maybe we're not supposed to talk about them, but I made the last chevron in the back, so you can't really see it. Somehow I messed it up, and I only got half of it on both of them in the back, but it's not very visible, so I'm just going with it. And I did lengthen it a little bit from the pattern, because I like longer sweaters and not shorter ones. But that was fun. I know I had people in the Ravelry group helping me try and figure out gauge. I am apparently a very tight knitter, which doesn't surprise me just based on the way I do other stuff like braiding hair and whatnot. So I'm not surprised that I end up being tight on it. But back to the socks I did. The sock that set me back was this one, made out of West Yorkshire spinner. I finished this sock in July. Here's the other one. I might get it done by the end of the year. But I knit a sweater in the middle of it, so that stopped me. And then I also jumped in on the mystery bags when those came out. And what I got was a lot of green and red. So I sat on that for a while. And then I decided it would be a great Christmas thing, so I made Christmas stockings with, so I had, what did I have? The Navia Tradition and a Garthenor was the green. And then since I had leftovers from my socks, we've got Rama, which one is it? It's the sock one, Vondre, is the green and the white on this one. And I learned a little bit practical about contrast. There's like a snowflake and words here, and you can't see them very much, so I'm thinking I might go over the edges of them with red, kind of embroidery like. So then we tried different colors for the second stocking. Same pattern. I have 2 boys. They both wanted cats, so they both get cats. I was so hoping one of them would pick moose or reindeer, but they didn't. And again, the Ravelry group helped me figure out an I-cord would be a great ending on this first one. I do not remember who made the suggestion, but if you're watching, look, it worked. So that was great. And then some of the socks I did finish. You can see the same yellow here that was in the stockings. And I also, for the colorwork cowl, did a variety, same sock pattern, but I added some color work in on it. So that it's all Rama Vandre. I have a couple other skeins of sock yarn to experiment with. So for 2024, I'm just hoping to keep learning. I'm still at the point where everything I try is an experiment, but it's fun. It's fun to try out the different things and just keep going. So I know I have one more, I think I have one more sock yarn I haven't played with yet to try for socks. I have at least one more pattern out of the Rama sock book to try with the bits and pieces that I have left from all the other ones. And then I inherited, my mother picked up for me from a garage sale some old yarn that people in the Facebook group helped me figure out was like a much older form of what's now Alaphos Lopi. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet, but I don't want to build a large stash. I kind of want to acquire and work with. That's my current goal anyway. So I have that up there hanging out, kind of like a stash, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. So figuring that one out is one of my goals, along with just more socks. I like socks. I like the Vandre yarn better than the West Yorkshire because so far it's still taking me forever to work with the fingering weight yarn. But I'm sure I will be making more with this because it's beautiful to work with. It just tests my patience. So more experimenting for me, and more learning.
Hi everyone, it's Caitlin. Happy end of 2023 and early 2024. I hope that your year has finished up well and that the new year's also off to a good start for you. I wanted to recap some of the highlights of my year and share a couple of the latest things I've made. So first of all, I wanted to show you the sweater that I'm wearing. In the last couple of times I've been on the Shopcast, I've shown updates on this. It's the Tea Pullover by Joji Locatelli, and I made mine in the original design yarn, Tuku Wool DK, which is from the Woolly Thistle. And I finished it in the last week, and I've just worn it several times already. I love how it turned out. It was really fun to knit, and I just especially love this yarn. Maybe one of the highlights of the year was working with this Tuku Wool DK for me. It just hits all the right spots of feeling soft and nice, still being woolly. I do have a t-shirt on under and I'm okay with it on my arms. It took a little getting used to at first, but it's what I love about this kind of yarn, and this is just a fresh reminder of one of the awesome things about woolly wool, is that it's not going to lose its shape over a few wearings. I do not have to wash this again to get it to kind of go back into shape like you do with a lot of superwash or cotton, some of your just normal non-hand knit stuff. It's gonna look nice for a while with several wearings, and it's just gonna look even nicer, I think, when it gets kind of roughed up rather than looking pilly and worn. So I love that. I just want to show you the construction because whenever I've seen someone else's, I wanted them to do this. I wanted to see, this is actually knit in one half and the other half, and then you, at the end, pick up all the neck stitches and you do knit a couple of rows together. So it is technically connected at the front and the back of the neck. The back looks like the front. And then I knit this long I-cord, and then you just string it like a shoelace. And so it's it's really like two halves seamed up the middle. So it's got just a little bow at the bottom, and I just really love how this turned out. So one of the favorite makes from the year. In my last episode, I also alluded to my favorite cowl that I just throw on for every little thing, so I thought I'd wear that to show you today. This is a very old make, but it's the honey cowl. It's one of like the most popular highly knitted things on Ravelry. It's I knit mine in 2 different colors, so you actually see quite an effect with this mosaic sort of slip stitch motif. Mine, gosh, I think it's some sort of alpaca blend, if it's like Barocco maybe. And then Malabrigo Rios is the color changing one. I love that it's double a loop and you can just throw it on. So yeah, wearing that to show you today. So wanted to talk about a couple highlights of my year. The first being I got to test knit for Gudrun Johnston, which ended up being a knit that was in the Grand Shetland Adventure Knits book. So I have that hat here. This is the cake fridge hat. I showed this not too long ago. Mine is in Jamieson Smith 2-ply jumper weight. It was kind of the year of the hats for me. So then for the color work knit along, I knitted Corinne's Flowers of Fort Rose hat. These are again Jamieson Smith 2-ply jumper weight. That's a fun one. Then I went a little hat crazy because one of the other highlights of my year was I just sort of stumbled into making my own first couple of designs. And the Rubani hat was one of those. So I made several versions of the Rubani hat. 3 of them are here. 2 of them are already, actually 3 are out. Each of my boys is wearing one today. And then I've gifted one to a friend. So yeah, there's 5 different sizes. Launching my own patterns was a really fun thing about this year. So thank you to everyone who's tried out the Rubani cowl that came first, and then the Rubani hat. We have kits still in the shop for these. It now includes both the cowl and the hat and enough yarn for both. It's Making Tracks by Junction Fiber Mill is the color changing one, and then 2 different colors of Realm of Fivel for a nice worsted weight, quick, easy color work. Couple of projects. So that was really fun. Now I think one of my tasks for 2024 is to find new homes for all of these hats I've made. I haven't done a lot of gift knitting this year, but I am going to see who I can pawn off a hat on to. Then I made one more hat just in the last month that I hadn't shown you. This is some stash yarn. It's a worsted weight merino, I think, held with a silk mohair. This is the Long Road hat from the contrast book by, I just learned how to say her name, Mayu KP. That's a book from Lina, and we do have some in the shop, I think. So this is the Long Road hat. This one turned out super soft, and I think it needs a pom-pom. So I might even buy a fur one. So that was a fun recent make. And another highlight of the year was submitting some of my knits for the Indiana State Fair. I live in Indiana, so submitted to the regional state fair, and took home a couple of ribbons, which I wasn't expecting or hoping, but yeah, I shared about that on episode 202 of the Shopcast, so you can watch that if you want to hear what that experience was like. And we definitely, yeah, keep encouraging others to try something similar if you have a fair to submit to. That was just a cool experience. Another highlight was getting to go to Rhinebeck this year. That was only my 2nd time seeing a lot of my Woolly Thistle coworkers in person and meeting a couple for the first time. Certainly meeting a lot of you, the Woolly Thistle viewers and customers, and that was just so special to get to do something like that in person. And then finally, I think just, yeah, being a part of the Woolly Thistle in general has been really great. Being a part of the community, seeing our Woolly Thistle team grow this year, and yeah, just, yeah, sharing all of the knitting and all of the joy of making with all of you. I just have one more thing to show you, which is my latest project. I did want to say thank you to everyone for your feedback on my last episode where I showed you my colorwork yoke that's not going quite as planned. It's looking a little small. I've gotten so much feedback from everyone some very adamant that I should not rip it out, that it's going to block fine, keep going, but then others who are quite convinced that it's looking too small, as I was fearing. So I really am not decided yet. I haven't acted on it. I'll keep you posted in the new year. That will be one of my reckonings for the early part of 2024, is what to do about that sweater. In the meantime, though, I just randomly cast on another colorwork yoke to try to, I guess, redeem the process. And so I've got this that I hadn't shown at all yet. This is taking shape quite quickly for being such a busy month for me. I'm using the Strange Brew pattern by Tin Can Knits, which, if you don't have that book, try to get your hands on it. I think it's out of stock, but I go to that book for so many quick sweater projects, for baby all the way up through the largest sizes. So there's quite a few patterns in the book for sort of like the actual patterned colorwork yokes in certain yarns, but then there's also a lot of tutorials on how to plug in your own motifs into whatever sweater you want to make. And that's what I did here. I all of a sudden this month just felt like I needed a black and white sweater, so I've just grabbed some from Stash. This is Stonehenge Fiber Mill shepherd's wool. It's a worsted weight, sort of a light worsted weight, I think merino. And then the other is some Stash that I've had. It's discontinued Paton's superwash, but it was black, which was the color I needed, and sort of a light worsted heavy DK weight. So I used the Strange Brew pattern for the DK weight, which is 22 stitches over 4 inches, and then it tells you about how many rows to do of a colorwork chart in between increase rows. So I've got some increases here, and then another increase row sort of in just a white plain row in here to try to keep it simple for myself, and then another one here. And I just kind of created these charts, and I think it's turning out pretty. Black and white, high contrast. I just, you can't go too wrong with that. And it's just going to be a straight body and long sleeves. I ran out of the cream, so I won't be doing any more color work on the sleeves, but yeah, that's been my end of the year project. So probably my last make of 2023 or my first FO of 2024, depending on how the holiday knitting time goes. So I think as far as my goals for the new year, I'm keeping it pretty simple this year. I'm yeah, just gonna be looking for joy in my knitting, and my family being where it is with 2 young kids, I'm not exactly looking for challenging learning experiences with my knitting, but mainly an enjoyable thing to turn to in the downtime, limited as it is. And yeah, I'm just kind of keeping in mind like what my knitting needs are, and trying to find projects that will fill those needs. So I wish you all the best in the new year, and look forward to the next time we'll meet on the Shopcast. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Kelsey coming back to talk to you a little bit about knitting and yarn and everything fiber-y. They asked us to talk, because we're coming towards the end of 2023, to talk a little bit about our reflections on the past year and our thoughts for the coming year, especially in crafting. I just wanted to say, first of all, that 2023 has been a doozy of a year for me, and to the point where I had to go back into Ravelry and actually look up what projects I finished in 2023, because I was like, oh yeah, the whatever, and then I looked and I was like, oh no, that was in 22, or that was even in 21, and I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking things like that. So looking at my projects, I knit a couple of sweaters. I'm not a speedy knitter. I don't have a ton of time to be knitting when I would like to be. I've got 2 little kids and a separate full-time job, and it's just not something that I can do all the time, and I'm not my technique is definitely not the fastest in the world. I'm fairly deliberate, and some version of an English thrower, flicker, something, usually, except for color work, when then I go two-handed, and then sometimes if I get bored of throwing, I switch to continental. So like I'm all over the place. And I guess I knit a few sweaters, I knit a few pairs of socks, I knit a few pairs of mittens, and some other things here and there, cowls and shawls and stuff like that. For me, for my kids, as gifts, for family members especially, and some scrappy things like crochet projects that I haven't really been into crochet before, and it's not my go-to for sure still, but it is an interesting departure from knitting, and it's an interesting way to use up a heck of a lot of yarn if you are trying to do that and make a really nice thick sturdy fabric. So I guess my reflections on 23 is that I knit what I wanted to and what I could, and I'm happy with what I have. I tried some new techniques. I've tried some new yarn combinations. I've tried different yarns together, different colors together, and I think that's for me a really core part of my knitting is the creativity part, is the really thinking things through and testing things out. And if it doesn't really work, then pulling it out and starting again, or just keeping it as a swatch and then starting again. So that's important to me. I think my only regret I have from crafting and knitting this year is that I did participate in a few sort of more timed things. So knit-alongs and stuff like that, where I felt pressure to finish. I even think I had a test knit in there somewhere, but where I felt like I was under pressure to finish in a certain time frame, and that's not something that seems to work very well for me, because it takes some of what I enjoy out of it, like the joy of being able to choose on an even day, like I'm going to pick up this project or that project and not this other thing, and instead of thinking, oh, I have to do this one thing. So I feel like I'm not going to really do that next year. That said, I am signed up for a test knit starting in January, and it's only for a hat, and it's like for 6 weeks, so like that's a very low commitment. So I'm already eating my words, but I think that's something for me that's very important, is being able to knit on my own schedule and knit for the concentration, the focus, the creativity, the mindlessness, the mindfulness of it all, and really not putting too much pressure on myself to accomplish certain things. This is also true because some of the people I knit for, including myself, wear somewhat larger sizes than average, especially in length. So when I say I knit a few sweaters, like one of those sweaters was for a very large human. So that took me a bit, and I was sort of winging it with my yarn choices and my marling, and you saw it a few times if you've watched the podcast before. So my plans for 24, I think sort of gotten into it a little bit. I don't really have big plans. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing what I like to do. I think I would like to keep knitting and getting better at knitting socks. There's a few problem areas in my socks that I would like to really work on, and a few techniques that I'd like to pick up, or different heel constructions or different toe constructions, or strategies for reinforcing or not, or knitting thicker or thinner, or color work or cables or something else. And I've done a little bit of that in the past, and I've enjoyed it. And the thing that's nice about socks, they're so small, they're so portable. I don't really fall syndrome to the second sock syndrome, so I do enjoy knitting that second sock, because I feel like I've figured it out a little bit after sort of bumbling through the first one in a hard pattern. So socks are something that I'd like to keep doing, keep working on. I'll be knitting a few socks for sure. There's also a pattern for a sweater that I've just been putting off because I feel like I've been knitting small projects and then have one bigger project in the background, and haven't even swatched for the sweater, but it's called the Lumme, I believe, Lumme sweater by Sari Nordland. It's a yoked sweater, but it's a very graphic, modern yoke with some color work. It's color work, but with some two-color graphic color work with some flower motifs and other things. So I'm really hoping to get that one going may not finish it for this winter, but to be knitting it during the winter, I think is a particular goal of mine. I have the yarn, it's all caked up, and it has been for a few weeks, and I just haven't come around to doing it. I am finishing up some gift knitting for the holidays, and haven't been able to come around to swatching for that sweater. Otherwise, the only other thing I was thinking about is I am a book person. So what that means for me, and especially because of my fairly limited personal time, alone time, something, I tend to buy books and then not have a chance to really read them. Like I might flip through them and like really say, oh, like that's cool and that pattern is neat or whatever, but don't get to really spend any time with them. So I have a handful of books that I've purchased in the last year that I really would like to sit down and actually read through everything and not just flip through and look at the sort of headlines and the patterns, and really sit down and read some of the essays and descriptions and history and all these other things in these books that I now own and haven't really dug into. That would be my other goal, is to not just buy books but also intentionally make the time to read from them, because I know some of these things when I talk about improving my socks or working with creative patterns or creative color work opportunities and combinations, I think I would get some inspiration and some guidance from some of these books that are just sitting on my shelf. So that's the other thing that I just wanted to mention, is that I love books and I have a good number of books, and I just think that making the time to knit from those books and knit along with reading those books, like not necessarily at the same time, but reading the books and knitting the patterns and really sort of making that an experience together is something that I'm looking forward to doing in 2024, or at least attempting to do in 2024. Other than that, just trucking along and doing my knitting and enjoying the community with the Woolly Thistle and with the knitting community at large, and the fiber community even larger, is just so fantastic. And just making the time and space to engage with all of you and with people in real life and people online and people at festivals and people who email the Woolly Thistle, or just people that we know and we've met from other places and know as knitters, but then find out that they weave or crochet or spin, and really talking to people about their passions. I think that's a real strength of our fiber community, is we're all passionate, and we're all sort of passionate about slightly different things. Everybody's got their preferences in the fiber world, and it's wonderful to hear from everybody about why they knit, what they knit, what they use to knit, when they knit, all of these, or weave or spin or dye or whatever it is. And really being able to connect with the community is something that I've done in the past, and I would love to continue really doing in the future, because this isn't just a craft to us. This is more than a craft. It's a community, and it's an opportunity to connect with people across the world who we wouldn't be able to normally connect with, or have no reason to connect with if we didn't share these interests. So that's something that I would also love to continue doing. So I hope you and yours are having happy holidays, happy end of 2023, and a beautiful beginning to 2024. Bye.
Hello Woolly Thistlers, it's Rachel from Barkland Croft here in Fair Isle. Well, the end of November brought the first snows of the season for us. Luckily it was fairly light though, but definitely the temperature dropped a few degrees and it was rather chilly for a while. The days have been getting noticeably shorter too, with this photo taken at 7:45 in the morning and this one at 2:15 in the afternoon. My kitchen has been a hive of activity, or more correctly a complete bomb site, as I've been busy cooking up all of the vegetables and bits and bobs that I brought back from my last time in Shetland, getting lots of meals and things prepared for the freezer to keep me going over the coming months. Ruffalo, my cat that had her eye removed, is doing brilliantly. She spends lots of times cuddling with her sisters, and a lot of time with us in the living room, and she especially likes cuddling up with Nieva too. The two newest of my hens, Constance and Lillian, have taken to roosting in the byre overnight. There's Brownie, one of my old girls. They've started sleeping in the rafters there. There's Rainbow Bright. I think they must enjoy it because the warmth of the sheep in there rising is obviously keeping them nice and warm on the chilly nights. And Sylvia continues to keep me entertained with her daily forays into Meg's territory. December has brought a real mixed bag of weather. We've had lots of rain, gales, hail, sleet, snow, a prolonged spell of ice, the odd little bit of sunshine, but some beautiful rainbows too, and stunning skies.
O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Saviour's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A ray of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees and hear the angel voices. O night divine, O night when Christ was born. O night, O holy night, O night divine. Truly he taught that we love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, the slave is still our brother, and in his name all oppression must cease. Sweet hymns of joy with grateful chorus raise we, let all within me praise his holy name.
the airstrip at Tingwall in Shetland being completely iced over, we didn't get in our first plane of December until the 11th of the month. I started feeding all the sheep their silage at the start of December, and I think you can see how much they enjoy that.
No reservations at the inn. Didn't know that you were coming in. We're all filled up, you see. We've got no vacancies. No reservations at the inn. Oh yes, I understand it, sir. It's only you and her. You just gotta have a room, I know. But sir, I'm sorry to admit, we overbooked a bit. Tax business had us filled up several weeks ago. No reservations at the inn. Didn't know that you were coming in. We're all filled up, you see. We've got no vacancies. No reservations at the inn. Excuse me, sir, what did you say? She's in a family way. You think any day now that it's due. Of course, out back we've got a stable. We'd do more if we were able. Sorry, sir, but that's about all that we can do. No reservations at the inn. Didn't know that you were coming in. We're all filled up, you see. We've got no vacancies. No reservations at the inn. No reservations at the inn. Didn't know that you were coming in. You have our apologies, but there are no vacancies. No reservations at the inn. Yes, you have our apologies, but there are no vacancies. No reservations at the inn.
Some of the sheep wanted to say a special hello to you, so here's Violet, Butterscotch, and Saucepan. Then we've got Branston and his great-grandma Patchwork, and Mungo and his mummy Daisy. Poor Seraph had a bit of an accident as he knocked one of his little horns off. It looks much worse than it is though, and I promise he's absolutely fine. And the blue is an antibiotic spray just to kill off any infection there. My next door neighbour is away spending Christmas with his daughters, so we've got his old dog Shep to come and stay with us. He's had a busy few days so far. I had to tell him off for getting too close to the TV to watch his favourite Shopcast though. He's been doing a bit of knitting. He's getting on quite well there. But most of the time he likes to spend snoozing with Nieva and Meg. The boat has had to fit around the weather for her sailings, so it's meant a few later trips back to the Isle. And in not great weather, I have to say either. But this boat in particular was a very much long awaited one for a lot of the community as it brought the Christmas trees. Ruffalo has been preparing for Christmas by reading her favourite Mog's Christmas book, whilst Nieva prefers Winnie the Pooh's Christmas Party. Scampy has been in charge of the playlist, and Ruffalo hopes you like her choice of decorations.
We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the
And all that's left is for me to say a huge, huge thank you to all of you for all your support over this past year. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate it, and a lovely holiday period if not. Take good care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2024.
Hi Woolly Thistlers, it's Kim here with Turning Ground Yoga, and I'm here to offer you a year in review. So if I could define my knitting year in pieces, it would be knitting for others, knitting for myself, and knitting for you. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I thought maybe if you've watched any of my vlogs or podcasts, then you'll know that in addition to knitting and yoga, I also do a lot of gardening. And so one of the highlights from 2003 was he had a really successful gardening year. This was the first time ever we grew corn and Brussels sprouts and cabbage without worms. We also had rutabaga, turnip, cauliflower, and plus all the other regular stuff. So carrots, onions, potatoes, peppers, lots of paprika peppers, and tomatoes. Did I say that already? So it was a good year. Moving on. I also launched a Patreon website for Turning Ground Yoga, which is subscription yoga classes and meditations and recipes. That launched in August, and it's been going really well. I was a little worried about how that would fit into my life, and it turns out it fits great. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm grateful for all of the subscribers. What else? I've continued to teach with the Woolly Thistle, offering yoga for knitter segments every month, but I also do the same thing on my regular podcasts, plus all the knitty stuff. So moving on to knitting, let's see. Oh, actually, I can't show you here because I'm starting with the segment of stuff I gave away, but I do have pictures. So the first thing that was created and then gotten rid of was my mother-in-law's birthday present. I try to knit her a cardigan every year. The first year I did the Victory cardigan, which you will know because it's one of Corinne's patterns. And then that last year I did the Copenhagen cardigan with 2 shirts. So that's the Copenhagen cardigan by Petite Knit. The next thing I did was the V-neck cardigan for my youngest daughter. That's by Coco Knits. And I just sort of played around with the mushroom design. It was inspired by Katie Green Bean podcast. And I did buy the pattern, but then I just modified the mushroom design and threw it onto this other V-neck for her. And it took a little while. It was my first attempt at intarsia. That was something else. I think if I did it again, I would probably invest in the spools rather than making my own because they kept coming undone. I just cut pieces of cardboard out with a little tab cut into it. It wasn't the best strategy. The next thing I made and then gave away were 2 Hobbit vests with pocketses. And a lot of people are having babies these days. So I did 2 Hobbit vests, 2 Bankhead hats to match. Bankhead holds a special place in my heart because it is the original town site for Banff, which if you've been to Canada or from Canada, you know what I'm talking about. Banff is that miraculous, beautiful place in the heart of the Rocky Mountains on the Alberta side. And anyway, Bankhead is where the town originally began. The girls and I actually went for a little stroll along Bankhead, which is another one of the highlights from this year. We picked up some coal, which was everywhere, and brought it home. Used it for Christmas decorating. So that Bankhead hat was from Susie Gourlay. The V-neck cardigan was Coco Knits. And then the next kid thing that I did was the Crozon sweater. And that is by Lisa Chemery. So all of the kids' tops are by Froggy Net and Lisa Chemery. And she makes beautiful stuff. I have zero complaints about her patterns. They always look amazing. They work amazing. They're very easy to read and very easy to work with. So I was very happy with all of that. And then the next thing that I gave away was the Luné shawl by Moonstruck Knits. That's Natasha Hornby. And that went to a dear neighbor who, after 40 years, moved off the farm. It was a pretty significant move for her and her husband, and I just wanted to give her something of comfort. So that's where that shawl went. So those were all the knits I did for everyone else. For myself, I decided to try a sock knitting club. So I joined the Secret Sock Society by Helen Stewart. And I was able to get through 3 of them before I was distracted by Christmas knitting. So I did the shadow box socks, the paper wing socks, and the feather vein socks, which won first place at the agricultural fair. I love to enter that every year. It's a lot of fun and it's something to work for. And it's always nice if you get a ribbon too, or a sticker, I guess, as the case may be. The other thing I finally finished for myself was this lovely ditty. This is another Copenhagen cat cardigan. I like the one I made for my mother-in-law so much that I made myself one too. And this is made out of alpaca and mohair. It's very, very warm. And the last part of my knitting this year is knitting for you. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's sort of like a 2-point answer. If you're a recipe tier patron, then every now and then, if I write a pattern, when I write a pattern, I share it with you. And the first thing that I have finished is these. These are called the Dad Socks, and they will be published on Ravelry in January. This was a pattern that I made for my dad. It's a little bit rough around the edges. That's the whole idea. And the colors in particular are important because my dad grew up on a farm with 4 other brothers in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, in there. And they only wore brown. And then in the 80s, after they were married for a while, Mom went and got her colors done and realized, Dad's a winter. He shouldn't be wearing brown. And so it took another decade or so of her shopping and reminding to get him to wear blue instead of brown. So I saw this yarn and thought, this is perfect for Dad. I'm going to write that up and make a pattern for him. So this will be on Ravelry or for recipe tier patrons in January. And then the other thing that I made and I'm just working on finishing are the Sugar Plum Fairy fingerless mitts. And these are going to go out for testing in January, and they will be ready after that, shortly after that, probably sometime in February, March. But those are them. So those are things that I've knit for you, that you can make part of your knitting, dream knitting or gift knitting, or however you want to do it. And in addition to that, I will continue to provide yoga classes for you so that your hands, your shoulders, and your mind are ready for all the wonderful knitting in the future. So happy holidays, and I will see you again in 2024.